Hi, my name is John Hayes, and you're listening to episode number 4 of the Follow the Blue Line podcast. As a small child, aged perhaps 3 or 4 years old, my parents bought me a 7-inch vinyl record, purportedly recorded by the comic strip characters Rupert the Bear and Friends. While the A side of the single, You Can't Catch Me, was a fairly upbeat novelty pop tune, it was the B side, Adventures, that really caught my attention. The basic gist of the song was that everyone wants an adventure. I've had this earworm in my head for nearly 5 decades now. It's one of a handful of tunes that my mind plays in heavy rotation when I'm out on my bike having those wee adventures that have become so important to me in recent years. As children, we all dream of living our adventures. Growing up in a rural corner of northeast Scotland, my childhood was a series of small adventures. Days out on the beach, running wild in fields, scrambling over huge bales of hay, playing in ruined farm buildings, and occasionally just lying in the grass, listening to the cool babble of a stream, or burn as we used to call it, running to the sea. We fought great wars, retold local legends, scared ourselves witless with ghost stories, which at the time we all believed to be true, and lost ourselves to our imaginations. These adventures never really took me more than a couple of miles from my front door, but to my young mind I could have been on another continent or even another planet. As I grew older, I replaced the beaches and fields surrounding my house with concert halls and nightclubs. Rock and roll became my new adventure. The neon lights outside the Bowerlands in Glasgow and the sticky carpets at the Cooler Bar in the venue on Edinburgh's Carlton Road took me to places I never thought I would see growing up in a remote Scottish village. Sure, everyone spoke with a Scottish accent, but our scene was just as cool as anything happening at CBGB's in New York or the Cat House in Hollywood. We grew our hair, squeezed ourselves into tight lycra trousers, really, nothing changes, bought cheap guitars, taught ourselves a few chords and became rock stars for the duration of our college years. We secretly knew that this would never amount to anything, but nobody ever dared voice their doubts. Besides, this was a great adventure, and even if it all went wrong, we'd have some amazing stories to tell our grandchildren, if only we could remember them. Like so many other people, I lost my sense of adventure when I entered the workplace. Adventures were replaced with mortgage payments, home improvement loans, credit card bills, and everyday costs of being a responsible adult. Sure, I could afford to go on holiday and enjoy myself for a couple of weeks in the sun every year, but were those package deals to the Med really adventures? Initially, maybe. I still fondly remember the first time I saw a cashier in a Spanish bank smoking a cigarette while cashing my traveller's checks, or a Speedo-wearing German gentleman casually doing his shopping in a supermarket several miles from the nearest beach. Seriously. But you don't have to visit too many concrete jungle holiday resorts before they all blur into one memory. If you're old enough to remember a time when you used to take your holiday photos to the lab to be processed, you'll undoubtedly have an old shoebox under your bed stuffed full of those amazing memories. There's a really good reason why you don't pull these images out very often, if at all. Those faded relics don't really deliver on the promise of reminding you of the great times you had. I challenge you to take them out and see if you can recall exactly when and where they were taken. This is especially true if your holidays revolve around the passions of so many of us Brits. The full English breakfast, some light afternoon drinking, followed by a night of complete hedonism. Don't get me wrong, it was fun for the first 20 or so years, but if you're anything like me, well, it all gets a bit boring. First we grow out of the idea of adventures, and then we start putting them off, sometimes long into the future. As I get older, I hear more and more friends starting sentences with, "When I retire, I'm going to..." This is perhaps the most dangerous start of a sentence you'll ever hear. That's because retirement never ends well. Whenever I think of retirement, I'm always reminded of the Pixar animation film Up, where as a young man, the lead character Carl dreams of exploring South America with his young wife. They diligently save all their money for this great adventure, but life just seems to get in the way, and before you know it, Carl is an old man mourning the death of his beloved bride. I'm also reminded of my father and my grandfather, who worked hard all their lives to save for the retirement and never quite made it. Now, I'm not suggesting you don't put plans in place to secure your future. Just don't bet the farm on it. The time for adventure is now. Okay, I appreciate that most of us, myself included, cannot drop everything and embrace the kind of adventures we dreamed about as kids. But this doesn't mean that adventure is out of reach. We might never climb Mount Everest, launch ourselves into outer space, or discover some hidden desert island that has somehow eluded Google Earth, but we can still tackle the occasional mini-adventure. A mini-adventure is something that takes you out of your comfort zone, something that most people will never do, something you will feel proud about as opposed to boasting about. A mini-adventure cannot be bought like a 5-star holiday or a shiny new car. It's something that you will potentially dine out on and perhaps bore your friends for months or even years to come. Who knows, you might even get a book out of it. There are many things that motivate people to embark on mini-adventures. Some people want to test themselves, others want to raise money for charity, then there are those who just want to shake the cobwebs from their weary minds and somehow reconnect with the dreams of their youth. While I would never call my mini-adventures midlife crises, it's certainly true I have more grey hairs on my head than the stereotypical image of an adventurer. It's also true that most of the people I meet along the way on my mini-adventures are all nearly always on the wrong side of 40. It doesn't matter what motivation takes you towards your mini-adventure or at what age you arrive at it, the most important thing is you do it. You might not live to regret it. My book, Follow the Blue Line, Cycling the Algarve, is a book about mini-adventures. In many ways, it's a mini-adventure in its purest form. The first time I cycled the Algarve, I left the house on a Thursday morning and was back in my own bed with a month's worth of stories by the Monday night. During this time, I did some things that I'd never done in my life before, experienced some real highs and some real lows. I got lost, I learned something new, I formed some new opinions. This might differ from your definition of an adventure, but as mini-adventures go, I'll take ownership of it. If your definition is slightly different, go out and live it. Then tell me all about it. We'll both be richer for the experience. With the COVID-19 pandemic, I don't know if I'll have the option of going on any mini-adventures anytime soon, and this frustrates me a lot, and perhaps demonstrates to me the importance of taking these opportunities as and when you can. But at least we have the memories, and I'm delighted to share them with you in the book. You can check out Follow the Blue Line, Cycling the Algarve on Amazon in ebook, paperback and audio editions. Hopefully it will inspire you, when it's safe to do so, to take your own mini-adventure. My name's John Hayes. You've been listening to the Follow the Blue Line podcast. We'll catch up with you again very soon.